They came back the same way they always had. From the sky. From fire. From silence. Across Earth's orbit, space folded like paper as 12 colossal ships emerged, golden, radiant, impossibly large. Ancient designs unchanged for millennia. The Aurelian warships had returned. Every telescope on Earth focused at once. Every satellite froze mid-orbit. Every human felt it, an old pressure buried deep in instinct. The signal followed immediately. Not a greeting. Not a warning. A command. Kneel. The word struck every language at the same time. It bypassed translation. It resonated in bone and blood. Across the galaxy, this was the moment civilizations broke. Worlds had burned themselves into obedience for less. But Earth went quiet. No prayers. No mass hysteria. No temples filling with desperate bodies. Human leaders assembled beneath the shadow of the largest ship as it descended into the atmosphere without heat, without sound. Its presence bent the clouds around it like a crown. The Aurelians had come expecting fear. What they saw instead was curiosity. The high speaker appeared as a towering figure of light, form-shifting, voice layered with impossible harmonics. You stand before your creators, it declared. You will kneel as you once did. Pause. Then an old human woman stepped forward. No armor. No weapon. No insignia. She looked up. And smiled. You're late, she said. The Aurelians hesitated. No civilization had ever responded like this. You forget your place, the high speaker warned. We lifted your ancestors from ignorance. We walked your world as gods. The woman tilted her head. No, she replied. You visited. A ripple passed through the warship fleet. AI cores flared. Historical databases activated. Impossible. Earth was a worship world. Earth was supposed to kneel. The woman continued, voice steady. You came. You showed power. You left nothing behind except questions. She took one step closer. And humans don't live well with unanswered questions. Above them, one of the warships subtly shifted position. Not aggressive, but alert. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Aurelians felt something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. And far beyond Earth, deep in forgotten archives, a truth began to stir. A truth the Aurelians had buried. And humanity had remembered. Rihu. If Earth never worshipped them, what did humans do instead? Long before humanity learned to write, the Aurelians learned to lie. They did not call it deception. They called it efficiency. Across the galaxy, early civilizations were fragile, violent, afraid, divided. Teaching them science took centuries. Teaching them obedience took moments. So the Aurelians arrived in light. They spoke in thunder. They descended in fire. They allowed themselves to be worshipped. And it worked. Species knelt. War stopped. Entire cultures restructured around obedience to the ascended. Cargo became miracles. Technology became divine artifacts. Aurelian ships became temples. Over time the lie grew easier. Soon even the Aurelians forgot it was a lie. They believed themselves gods. Until Earth. The high speaker's internal system screamed warnings as Earth's historical records cross-referenced forbidden files. Files the Aurelians themselves had sealed. Primitive world, Earth. Status, anomalous. Outcome, unresolved. The high speaker projected authority anyway. You were saved from extinction, it declared. Your ancestors begged for guidance. The human woman shook her head slowly. No, she said. We begged for rain. You happened to be in the sky. Murmurs rippled through the human delegation. The Aurelians did not understand. On other worlds, myths showed gods teaching fire, law, order. On Earth, the myths were different. Gods argued. Gods failed. Gods died. Humans did not describe perfection. They described visitors. The high speaker searched deeper. Cave paintings. Stone carvings. Early texts. Humans had drawn the warships accurately. Not as divine symbols, but as machines. The AI flagged something worse. Humans had depicted Aurelians bleeding. That had never happened anywhere else. The high speaker's voice hardened. You dare accuse your creators of weakness? The woman's eyes never left the towering figure. You caught a disease here, she said calmly. One you didn't understand. Silence. Aurelian biology databases flickered. Cross-species pathogen exposure. True. Casualties. Classified. The truth surfaced like a corpse from deep water. Earth was the only world where the Aurelians had lost people. Not to war. To microbes. For the first time, the Aurelians remembered why they had left so quickly. and why they had never returned. Until now. If humans once harmed the gods by accident, what happened when they tried on purpose? When the Aurelians left Earth, they expected fear to replace faith. Instead, something far more dangerous replaced both. Doubt. Humanity argued for centuries about what the sky visitors had been. Gods. Demons. Spirits. Then someone asked a forbidden question. If they were gods, why did they leave pieces behind? A broken shard of golden alloy found buried in desert stone. A melted device fused into obsidian. A silent core that hummed when storms passed overhead. Humans did not build temples around them. They built laboratories. The first attempts failed. People died. Machines exploded. The artifacts resisted understanding. But humans persisted. They always did. The Aurelians had offered worship. Humans countered with obsession. Every failure became data. Every death became a warning label. Every mystery became a problem waiting to be solved. Slowly patterns emerged. The divine metal followed physical laws. The holy light was energy containment. The voice of God was a translator bound by logic. Gods, it turned out, were just engineers with better tools. By the time the Aurelians noticed Earth again, it was too late. Human radio waves had already leaked into space. Human satellites had already mapped gravity. Human weapons had already reached orbit. The high speaker processed the revelation with rising alarm. You built this without us? It demanded. The human woman nodded. You never taught, she replied. You only impressed. Behind her, massive doors opened. The Aurelians detected power signatures. Sharp, contained, terrifyingly efficient. Human ships. Not golden. Not beautiful. Black. Silent. Angular. Built not to inspire worship. Built to survive gods. The high speaker took an involuntary step back. Impossible. No worship world had ever surpassed its creators. The woman spoke again, softer now. You made a mistake, she said. You thought belief was the same as submission. Above Earth, human fleets slipped out of atmosphere like knives leaving sheaths. Across the galaxy, dormant sensors activated. Civilizations watching from afar felt something shift. The balance of myth was breaking. If humans surpassed the gods, what happened to every civilization that still worshipped them? Across the Orion Arm, worlds trembled. Not from earthquakes. From truth. The Aurelians had never hidden Earth completely. They simply labeled it unimportant. A failed worship world. A curiosity. Now every temple world began receiving the same transmission. Uncoded. Unfiltered. Undeniable. Images of Earth. Images of humans. Images of Aurelians bleeding, retreating, dying. The reaction was catastrophic. On Koresh, priests screamed as their living god hesitated. On Virex, entire cities rioted when human ships appeared beside Aurelian shrines. On Saluan, believers refused to believe, until the Aurelians ordered orbital bombardment to silence doubt. And that was the moment worship turned to hatred. Human fleets never fired first. They didn't need to. They simply broadcast. They showed civilizations what gods looked like under microscopes. What divinity sounded like when terrified. What immortality did when confronted with entropy. The Aurelians panicked. They issued commands. Kneel. Obey. Destroy the unbelievers. And the galaxy saw it clearly. Gods did not fear questions. Rulers did. The high speaker convened the ascended council for the first time in ages. They were not supposed to wake, one whispered. They were not supposed to remember, said another. On Earth, the human woman watched the chaos unfold on a silent display. This isn't revenge, a general said quietly. Is it? She shook her head. No, she replied. It's education. Human doctrine had never been conquest. It was exposure. You could not worship what you understood. And humanity understood the Aurelians completely. Across space, the first temple world fell, not to invasion but to rebellion. Statues shattered. Altars burned. And for the first time in galactic history, gods ran from their followers. When gods fall, who decides what replaces them? The Aurelians had faced war before. They had never faced equals. Human ships did not glow. They did not announce themselves. They did not demand surrender. They arrived, completed objectives, and vanished. Every engagement followed the same pattern. Aurelian weapons overwhelmed. Defensive fields bypassed. Command nodes disabled without destruction. It was surgical. Humiliating. The high speaker finally understood the horror. Humans did not fight like believers. They fought like engineers fixing a malfunctioning system. One Aurelian commander transmitted in desperation. "Why do you oppose your gods?" The human reply was immediate. "We don't have gods," it said. "We have standards." Aurelian fleets began retreating, not just from battlefields but from history. They erased records. They destroyed archives. They attempted to rewrite themselves back into myth. It failed. Humans had already copied everything. Across liberated worlds, humans made one rule clear. No new gods. No replacements. No kneeling. Civilizations were free to believe, but never again to surrender thinking. The galaxy struggled with the silence left behind. For millennia, purpose had been handed down from the sky. Now, it had to be chosen. The High Speaker prepared its final transmission. Not to humanity. To the galaxy. "We were your creators," it pleaded. "Without us, you are lost." Humanity intercepted the signal. And replaced it. The new message spread faster than any prayer ever had. What message could kill a god forever? The transmission contained only one sentence. Translated into every known language. "Any being that demands worship is afraid of equals." That was all. No threats. No propaganda. No human signature. Just truth. The effect was devastating. Children asked questions. Scholars reevaluated history. Priests abandoned robes. Belief did not vanish. Blind belief did. Aurelian influence collapsed within months. Their ships were hunted, not by humans but by former worshippers. The High Speaker watched from a dying command vessel as its empire unraveled. "How did you do this?" it asked humanity one last time. The reply was quiet. "We remembered." The warship's core went dark. For the first time in galactic history, there were no gods, only civilizations. And one species every star now whispered about. What kind of species kills gods, without firing the last shot? The galaxy began calling Earth a death world. Not because of predators. Not because of storms. Because of ideas. Humans were the only species to survive false gods. The only species to outgrow creators. The only species that saw divinity and asked for blueprints. Human ambassadors spread across the stars. Not as rulers. As reminders. "Question everything," they said. "Especially anything that claims perfection." Former temple worlds rebuilt as republics. Former priest castes became scientists. Former gods became cautionary tales. Humanity never claimed dominance. They didn't need to. The galaxy already knew. And if new gods ever rise, who will they fear most? Centuries later, deep beyond mapped space, something ancient watched. Something older than the Aurelians. It had seen gods fall before. It observed humanity carefully. Not with arrogance. With caution. Because humanity did not kneel. And any species that kills gods eventually becomes the benchmark others fear. The stars fell silent. Waiting. For the next test. Or beginning.